A guy in khakis tried to break into my house because my porch light didn't match his community aesthetic. Yeah, that's real. What started with a fake fine over my lawn turned into cops' lawsuits and a full-blown HOA dictatorship led by a woman named Karen who thought she could own my life. She forged documents, threatened my kid, sued me for ruining the neighborhood. I didn't back down. I burned the whole damn system to the ground. You ever had to fight someone who swore they knew what was best for you? Tell me in the comments who was your Karen. My name's John Parker. I'm no hero, nothing special. Just a regular guy, a single dad who spent nearly 20 years grinding, chasing one simple thing, peace. Not money, not glory, just some quiet, a spot to breathe easy. Somewhere my son could grow up safe and free. That's all I ever hoped for. My wife died 6 years ago. Cancer, one of those long, soul-draining ends that wears you down bit by bit. After that, it was just me and my boy Liam. I had to be both parents overnight. Every penny mattered. I had to hold it together even when I was breaking inside. I juggled jobs 2, sometimes 3. Delivered packages, fixed appliances, worked the night shift at a gas station. I pinched every cent, skipped holidays and birthdays, not because I didn't care, but because I was trying to build something. And then last summer, it happened. I bought a house. Not a fancy one. Not even 2 floors. Just a solid 3-bedroom place on the edge of a quiet suburb. A front yard that caught the early sun. A backyard big enough for Liam to kick around a soccer ball. A little porch where I could sip coffee and pretend the world wasn't crashing down. It felt right. Best part? No HOA. That was non-negotiable for me. I'd heard the stories fines for the wrong shade of fence paint for parking in your own driveway. No thanks. I made sure, my realtor promised. The previous owner even laughed. HOA around here? Hell no. My lawyer combed through every word of the paperwork. Nothing. Clean. No association. So I signed. Moved in. And for the first time in a long while, I let myself believe maybe things were finally turning around. That feeling lasted a week. The day it all started, everything felt still. Blue skies, birds, the scent of cut grass. Liam was still knocked out from a late movie night. I grabbed my coffee and sat on the porch. You ever have a morning that feels like a reset? Like the world's giving you a break? That was me kicked back in an old chair listening to sprinklers and a distant mower. Sipping coffee, breathing. But peace never sticks around. Bang, bang, bang. A pounding knock shattered the calm. I jumped, coffee splashed on my shirt mug and nearly dropped. My gut tightened. Was someone hurt? Was something wrong? I was halfway to the door when a voice barked out. Open up Homeowners Association inspection. I froze. Homeowners Association. When I cracked the door, there she stood, mid-50s stiff blonde bob. Pastel blouse, perfectly pressed khakis, and a clipboard like it was a badge. Her face said it all, authority, pride attitude, total Karen energy. Before I could say a word, she started in, you must be the new owner. I'm Karen, head of the HOA board. Just doing routine inspections to ensure everything meets community standards. I'll just take a quick look at your property. I blinked. HOA? No, I told her. I checked. There's no HOA here. She frowned like I'd said something criminal. Actually, that's not correct. Your subdivision is under Willow Glen HOA jurisdiction. Annexed recently. It's in the guidelines. Annexed, I stared at her. I never agreed to that. My realtor, my lawyer, the seller, they all said no. HOA. She clutched the clipboard tighter. Maybe they didn't know. But we can enforce regulations. That includes your home. Now, if you'll step aside? No. She blinked. I said no. You're not coming in. Not without proof. This is my property. Her smile vanished. She stiffened, heels tapping forward. You're making a mistake, she said. We can fine you, limit access, even start foreclosure if you violate community rules. I stepped closer. Lady, I said steady whatever scam you're playing, this is my house. Show me the legal documents, otherwise leave. Her face twitched. You could tell she wasn't used to pushback. Then she forced a smile. Fine. You'll be hearing from us. She spun and walked off. I stood there long after she left. Cold coffee, stained shirt, that fragile sense of peace gone. You know that knot in your stomach, that quiet alarm bell that just won't quit. It sat with me all day. I tried to shake it. Cleaned up, made Liam breakfast, played normal, but something felt off. I pulled out my documents, the deed. Title, agreement. Not a single word about any HOA. Still, I couldn't let it go. So I called my lawyer. Hey, I said casual. Some woman came by claiming we're part of an HOA now. Is that even possible? He paused. No. You're not in any HOA. I checked the county myself. That neighborhood never filed. What if they claim they annexed the street? He chuckled dry. They can't. Not without approval from property owners and proper filing. If you didn't sign, they've got nothing. That should have calmed me. It didn't. Because people like Karen, they don't always play by the rules. They just need you scared. And she'd already done that. The next few days went by quietly, almost too quietly. I cut the grass, took Liam for ice cream, fixed a leaky faucet in the kitchen. Dad stuff. On the surface, everything was normal, but that gut feeling, still there. Karen hadn't just dropped by on a whim. She had a mission, and people like her. They don't take no lying down. They come back harder. And 5 days later, she did. Saturday morning, sun's out. Breeze soft enough to set the wind chimes dancing. I was on the porch watching Liam kick a soccer ball across the yard. For a minute, it felt like life had hit pause. Then I heard it gravel under tires. Silver SUV rolls into my driveway. I stood up before the door even opened. My stomach already knew. Karen. She stepped out in some buttery yellow pantsuit like she was off to brunch, not battle. But this time she wasn't solo. Next to her was a skinny guy, awkward, balding, oversized polo hanging off his frame, clutching a clipboard like a lifeline. And then I saw the damn wheelbarrow, filled with HOA signs, bright plastic reminders that someone thinks they run the place, no truck. Parking lawn inspection. Notice property under HOA review. My chest tightened. Liam saw them and jogged over. Dad, who's that inside bud? I said, trying to keep it casual, I got this. He hesitated but went in. By the time I hit the bottom step, Karen and her sidekick were already unloading signs, laying them out like they owned the sidewalk. I couldn't help it. What the hell are you doing? Karen didn't look at me. She spoke to clipboard guy. Get driveway measurements. Possible overextension onto the curb. The guy Tom I'd later find out nodded and dropped to one knee with a tape measure. Karen turned to me at last. Mr. Parker, you've failed to comply with HOA standards. Your lawn is overgrown by ½ an inch. Your truck's still parked in the driveway, and that front porch light fixture. Not up to code. I blinked. My light fixture? She didn't flinch. Section 14A. All exterior lighting must match HOA-approved aesthetics. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Bitter sharp. Lady, I told you, I'm not part of your HOA. You can't inspect my property, and you sure as hell can't plant signs on it. Tom looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Karen stayed ice cold. We annexed your street 3 months ago. You're under our jurisdiction. Non-compliance means fines. You're trespassing, I said. Both of you. Off my land. Now. Tom stood. Uneasy. This is an official warning. You have a week to fix violations or face penalties. I stepped closer, not threatening, but firm. Last warning. I never signed anything. Never agreed to this. You've got 30 seconds before I call the police. Karen didn't blink. Please do. I'm sure they'll be fascinated by your infractions. I didn't answer. I just pulled out my phone and dialed. 911. What's your emergency? I have two people on my property refusing to leave. They're trying to enforce HOA rules on a home that isn't in any HOA. They're placing signs on my lawn without consent. Are you in immediate danger? No. But they need to go before this turns into something else. She took my info, promised to send a unit. I hung up. They're on their way. Might want to start packing up. Karen's smirk cracked. She scowled. You're making a mistake, Mr. Parker. No, I said. You are. 15 minutes later, two cruisers pulled up. Karen straightened, like she'd called them herself. Tom looked like he wanted to disappear. The first cop, tall sunglasses, all business, stepped out. What's going on here? Karen jumped in. Officer, thank goodness. This man's ignored HOA rules. When we tried to inform him, he became hostile. The officer looked at me, then at her. Ma'am, is this your property? Well, not technically. Do you live here? No, but I'm the HOA head. The second officer, a woman, cut in. Do you have legal documentation showing this property is under HOA jurisdiction? Karen froze. I stepped in, phone in hand. What I do have is my title and deed, verified by my lawyer. This home isn't bound to any HOA. There's no agreement, no annexation. They showed up uninvited and started staking signs. The female officer took my phone, flipped through the photos. Karen's face was turning crimson. There are rules, she shouted. He can't just do whatever he wants. The male cop raised a hand. Ma'am, you need to leave, now. This is a civil issue. If you believe you have a legal case, take it to court. But you can't harass him like this. Karen opened her mouth, then thought better of it. Let's go, she hissed to Tom. He didn't wait. They grabbed their signs and retreated, Karen muttering all the way. I stood still, arms folded, Liam peeking out the window. The officer beside me said, You did the right thing. We see this more than you'd think. I thought this stuff was just memes online. He grinned. It's very real. But that woman's pushing boundaries. He handed me back my phone and a business card. If they come back, call again. Keep records. I already had a folder on my desktop, HOA nightmare. 3 days later, I got a thick envelope. No return address. Inside, a 5-page letter outlining my violations, their so-called authority, a bogus annexation clause, unsigned, undated, and a total of $150 in fines. I laughed because what else can you do? Fines for the truck. The grass. Even Liam's handmade wind chime labeled unapproved outdoor decor. I forwarded it all to my lawyer. He confirmed it garbage. Legally meaningless. Still, the pressure was real. This wasn't just a flex. It was control. Karen didn't just want compliance, she wanted ownership. Weeks passed, no signs, no knock at the door, no SUVs creeping in. But I knew. Karen wasn't done. People like her never are. They don't accept no. They regroup, they wait, they plan their next move, and just like I feared, they came back. The next few days were too damn quiet. I mowed the lawn, took Liam out for ice cream, fixed a leaky kitchen faucet. Just regular dad shit. But in the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't over. Karen didn't just show up because she was bored, she came with an agenda. And people like her, they don't walk away when you say no. They double down. So when it happened again 5 days later, I wasn't even surprised. Saturday morning, the weather was perfect. Sunny, breezy, those wind chimes swaying lazily. I was on the porch, coffee in hand, watching Liam kick a ball around in the backyard. For a second, I actually felt calm again. Then I heard it gravel crunching under tires. A silver SUV pulled into my driveway. I stood up. Didn't need to see who it was. My stomach already knew. It was her. Karen stepped out like she was headed to some rich lady brunch, dressed in a pale yellow pantsuit. And she didn't come alone this time. Next to her was some balding, awkward-looking dude in an oversized polo gripping a clipboard like it held the meaning of life. And then I saw the damn wheelbarrow. A whole-ass wheelbarrow filled with HOA signs, plastic blue and white ones, shouting, No truck parking. Lawn inspection. Notice property under HOA review. My chest tightened. Liam saw the car and jogged over. "Dad, who's that head inside, buddy?" I said, keeping my voice calm. "I'll handle it." He gave me that look, but he went. By the time I stepped off the porch, Karen and Clipboard Boy were already unloading signs onto the sidewalk, like they were claiming territory. I couldn't help it. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Karen didn't even glance at me. She turned to the guy Tom I'd find out later and said, "Make sure to measure the driveway. Looks like it extends past code." Tom dropped to his knees and pulled out a measuring tape. Karen finally turned to face me. "Mr. Parker, I see you're still refusing to comply with HOA regulations. Your lawn is half an inch too tall, your truck's still parked out front, and your porch light fixture is non-compliant." I just blinked. My light fixture? She didn't even flinch. Section 14A. Exterior lighting must conform to HOA-approved design standards. I laughed. Not a happy laugh, a "you've got to be kidding me" laugh. "Lady, I told you already, I'm not part of your HOA. You have no right to be here, and you sure as hell don't get to stick signs in my yard." Tom looked up, clearly not wanting to be involved in any of this. Karen gave me that smug-ass smile. "We annexed this street into the HOA 3 months ago. You're under our jurisdiction now. Non-compliance will result in fines. You're trespassing," I said, flat as stone. "Both of you, off my property. Now." Tom stood up, shifting nervously. "This is an official warning. You have until next week to correct the listed violations or face penalties." I stepped forward, not threatening, just letting them know I wasn't backing down. "I'm going to say this one more time. I never signed up for your bullshit. I never agreed to this. And if the two of you aren't off my property in the next 30 seconds, I'm calling the cops." Karen didn't flinch. "Go ahead. I'm sure they'll be very interested in your numerous violations." I didn't waste a word. Just pulled out my phone and called. 911, what's your emergency? "Yes," I said loud enough for both of them to hear. "I've got 2 people trespassing on my property. They're trying to enforce rules from a homeowners association I'm not even part of, and they're placing unauthorized signs on my lawn." There was a pause. "Are you in immediate danger?" the dispatcher asked. "No," I said, "but I need them off my property before this turns into something worse." She took my info and said someone would be dispatched. I hung up and looked at Karen. "They're on their way. Time to pack up your circus." For a second, her face cracked. Then she scowled. "You're making a mistake, Mr. Parker." "No," I said. "You are." Didn't take long. 2 cruisers pulled up within 15 minutes. Karen straightened up like she was the one who called. Tom looked like he was going to piss himself. The first cop, tall shades on, no nonsense, walked up. "What seems to be the issue?" Karen jumped in first. "Officer, thank God. This man has been violating HOA rules for days. When we attempted to inform him of his responsibilities, he became hostile and aggressive." The officer glanced at me, then looked back at her. "Ma'am, is this your property?" Karen hesitated. "Well, no." "Do you live here?" "No, but as head of the HOA." The second officer, a sharp-tongued woman, cut her off. "Do you have legal documents proving his property is under HOA jurisdiction?" Karen froze. I stepped forward and held up my phone. "What I do have are documents proving this house isn't under any HOA. Verified by my lawyer. These 2 showed up uninvited, planted signs, and started measuring my damn driveway." The female officer took my phone and scrolled through the photos. Karen was turning red. "There are regulations," she barked. "Laws he can't just ignore." The male officer raised a hand. "Ma'am, please leave the property. This is a civil issue. If you believe you have a legal case, take it to court. Until then, you are not allowed to harass homeowners." Karen opened her mouth, and then shut it. She turned to Tom. "Let's go." He didn't hesitate. They packed up their bullshit and walked off, Karen muttering the whole way. I stood there, arms crossed. Liam peeked through the living room window. The officer beside me said, You did the right thing calling us. You'd be surprised how often this kind of thing happens. I thought HOA horror stories were just internet memes, I said. He smirked. Nope. Very real. And that one, she's pushing limits. He handed back my phone and gave me his card. If they show up again, call us. Document everything. I nodded, didn't say anything, but I already had a folder on my desktop called HOA Nightmare. 3 days later, I found a thick-ass envelope in the mailbox. No return address. Inside a 5-page letter outlining violations of bogus annexation clause, no date, no signature, and a list of fines totaling $150. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so goddamn absurd I didn't know what else to do. A fine for my truck in the driveway, a fine for tall grass, a fine for unauthorized outdoor decor, which I'm guessing meant the wind chime Liam made in art class. I sent everything to my lawyer. He confirmed it complete bullshit. No legal standing whatsoever. Still, the pressure was real. This wasn't about signs anymore, or grass, or trucks. Karen didn't want compliance. She wanted control. A few weeks passed. Quiet. No signs. No surprise visits. No suspicious vehicles, but I knew better. Karen wasn't done. People like her don't stop when you push back. They step back, regroup, and come at you harder, and sure enough, they did. You ever stand at the edge of something and feel like the whole damn world's pressing down on you? That's how it felt the morning of the first hearing. It had been 6 weeks since Tom tried to break into my house. 6 weeks since Karen's bullshit empire of fear started to fall apart. But even after Tom got hauled off, even with police report security footage and a mountain of evidence stacked against her, Karen wasn't done. Nah, she cranked that shit up. She went from clipboard tyrant to full-blown cartoon villain. Filed a civil lawsuit against me for defamation and damaging the HOA's community image. Yeah, let that shit marinate for a second. She tried to wreck my life, and when it didn't work, she sued me for ruining hers. But here's what she didn't get. I wasn't just some handyman in coveralls. I was a dad. And when you come after someone's kid, you're gonna see exactly how hard a father fights. The night before the hearing, Liam came into my room, dragging his blanket behind him like he used to when he was 5. Can I sleep here tonight? He asked all quiet. Yeah, buddy, of course. He curled up next to me and laid his head on my shoulder. Then he whispered, Are they going to take our house that hit me like a steel-toed boot to the chest? I swallowed hard. No, they're not taking anything. We're staying right here. And I meant it. I would have sold every tool, every scrap of gear I owned. Hell, I'd sleep in my truck before letting her take our home. It wasn't some Hollywood drama. No big speeches. No judge pounding the gavel. Just shitty carpet buzzing fluorescent lights and tension so thick you could slice it. Karen sat across the room in a navy blue pantsuit and a smile so fake it should have come with a warning label. Her lawyer looked like he regretted every career choice he'd ever made. She kept glancing at me like this was still a game. Like she thought she could win with a smirk. I didn't give her the time of day. My lawyer laid everything out sharp, surgical, and brutal. The forged HOA papers, the fake fines, the illegal signs, the report from when Tom got arrested, footage of Tom trying to break into my damn house. And the real kicker, a recorded call from Tom's phone, Karen telling him to get inside and do what needs to be done to shut him up. That right there. That was the kill shot. She didn't just want to intimidate me, she ordered a break-in. That's conspiracy. That's criminal intent. And for the first time since this shitstorm started, I saw something new in Karen's eyes. Fear. The judge didn't need a whole lot of time. He tossed her civil suit like yesterday's trash and handed things over to the county prosecutor. Because this wasn't a petty neighbor squabble anymore. This was criminal. They charged Karen with conspiracy to trespass, attempted evidence tampering, harassment, filing fraudulent documents, and yeah, assaulting a minor because Liam testified she grabbed him during one of her early outbursts. Neighbor's security cam caught the whole damn thing. That broke her. Right there in court, she stood up and snapped. This is bullshit. He's lying. They're all lying. Bang, the judge hit the gavel. That's enough, Miss Morris, but she kept going. They don't care about rules. He parks a truck in his own driveway, for God's sake. I glanced around the courtroom. A few neighbors had shown up, some I barely knew. None of them looked like they were siding with her. They cuffed Karen that day. No bail. Her trial was set for 3 weeks out, but it was already over. Tom flipped. Testified in full for a lighter sentence. He handed over everything: emails, texts, call logs, and the truth way worse than I'd imagined. That HOA of hers, total scam. It wasn't even registered. She made it all up. Faked documents, ran fake elections, collected dues from people too afraid to say no. She paid herself a salary, bought crap for her home office, threatened legal action every time someone pushed back. She was running a full-on fraud ring from her goddamn living room. I wasn't her first target, just the first one who stood the hell up. News traveled fast. Reporters caught wind. Headlines rolled out. HOA queen, Karen gets busted. Suburban tyrant faces jail time. Karen can't HOA her way out of this one. Neighbors started coming forward. Stories poured in, people being fined for misaligned trash bins, getting threatened for hanging the wrong kind of curtains. One family admitted they'd paid over $2,000 in fake dues just to avoid trouble. Now they were pissed. They wanted blood, and they wanted their money back. Karen was found guilty on 4 counts. 2 years behind bars. Tom got probation and community service. The fake HOA obliterated. Every sign, every fake fine void. Folks got restitution. A bunch of us even teamed up to help spread the word and track down victims. Then we started something better. Not another HOA, God no. Just a community committee, a real one. People looking out for each other, sharing numbers, checking on the elderly, bringing groceries to the single mom 2 doors down when her car broke down. It wasn't about rules. It was about being human. And for the first time since moving in this place, it felt like home. A few weeks later, I'm back on the porch. Liam's out there building some kind of robot thing out of wood and duct tape. Looked more like a spaceship. Hard to say. Carl, the neighbor with the shotgun, walks by with his dog. Tips his hat. Told you she'd fold. I grinned. Took longer than I wanted, but yeah. He paused, looked me in the eye. Most folks would have rolled over. You didn't. You reminded the rest of us that we didn't have to either. That stuck. Because I never set out to be a hero. Hell, I didn't even want the spotlight. I just wanted peace. But sometimes to protect peace, you've got to plant your feet and throw down no matter who's standing across from you. Even if they come armed with pearls, a clipboard, and a steaming pile of bullshit. You ever fight so long for something that when it's finally over, all you feel is silence? No clapping. No music swelling. No slow-mo walk into the sunset. Just quiet. And for a guy like me, someone who'd fought like hell for a little bit of quiet, I thought that silence would feel like a win. It didn't. Not right away. The day Karen got sentenced, I didn't celebrate. No champagne, no party. I went home, made grilled cheese for Liam, and sat on the couch with him watching old cartoons. He leaned against me, chewing slowly, then looked up and asked, "It's over now, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, buddy, it's over." But in my gut, I wasn't so sure. The scars were still too fresh. The front door cam still blinked. I still double-checked the locks at night. Still had nightmares, not about her, but about losing it all. Because that was the real fear, wasn't it? Not the stupid fines, not her signs or threats. It was the idea that someone could just walk into your life and say, "You don't own this anymore." That after years, decades of blood, sweat, and grinding, someone like Karen could show up with a clipboard and strip it all away. That's what she was. That voice in your ear saying, "Your peace ain't yours. It's mine now." Once you hear that voice, it doesn't fade easy. In the months after the trial, things changed. Doors opened. Neighbors started waving. People I'd barely seen started showing up with cookies and casseroles I didn't know what the hell to do with. I think they were thankful. Not just because Karen was gone, but because someone finally stood the hell up. Loud enough that everyone else remembered they could too. Funny how one no can shake a whole damn block awake. And for the first time since moving in the street, it felt like a community, not because of rules, but because we'd been through shit together. We were all scared at one point. Now we were healing. I got back to fixing up the place. Small stuff. Painted the shed, swapped out some warped porch boards, let Liam build a treehouse, just some janky wood and a rope ladder. He called it the fort. He made a sign, "No Karens allowed." I didn't take it down. One day we were up there, just sitting in that crooked little box of his when he asked, "Why'd she do it?" Dad, I almost fed him a sweet little lie. But he deserved the truth. Some people only feel strong when they're controlling others, I said. And when they meet someone they can't control, it scares the shit out of them. He nodded like he got it more than a 10-year-old should. Then he looked right at me and said, "But you weren't scared." I smiled. "Oh, I was scared, bud. But I didn't let it stop me. That's the part I hope sticks." 3 months after it all died down, I got a letter. No return address. Just my name and street handwritten. I opened it slow, half expecting some last desperate jab. Instead, just a short note. "You were right. I lost control. I'm sorry for everything. I hope one day you'll forgive me." Karen couldn't prove it was really her. No signature, no seal. Just that scribbled message and the weight behind it. I didn't show Liam, didn't tell my lawyer. I read it once, folded it up, and tossed it into the fire. Forgiveness doesn't always mean welcoming someone back in. Sometimes it's just letting go so you can finally breathe. I wish I could say life stayed perfect after that. But nah. Bills still came. The truck still acted up. Liam still had rough days. And I still had moments where I wondered if I was screwing everything up. But every morning I stepped onto that porch, saw the sun cutting through the trees, and felt something I hadn't in a long time. I felt okay. Safe. Free. And that's all I ever really wanted. To live life on my terms, to raise my son without fear. To wake up in a house I fucking earned with no one hanging regulations over my head. If you've made it this far, I want you to know something. I'm not some superhero. I didn't win because I'm tough or rich or smart. I won because I didn't fold. When someone tried to tell me that my home didn't belong to me, that my life didn't belong to me, I stood my ground and said, "Bullshit." Yes, it does. So if you ever find yourself in that same fight, whether it's against a clipboard tyrant, a boss, a bully, or whoever the hell thinks they get to decide how you live, just remember, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to fight for your peace. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is not move an inch. Because if someone wants your home, your freedom, or your dignity, they better be ready for one hell of a fight. Today, Liam turned 11. We had a little party in the backyard. A few neighbors, a busted grill cooking hot dogs, a cake piled high with way too much frosting. He asked if we could hang lights in the trees. I said, hell yeah. Karen would have fined me $50 for that. But today I just smiled, strung those lights across the branches and flipped the switch. The whole yard lit up. Liam cheered. And I stood there staring at the home I nearly lost the life we damn near had stolen. And I felt it. Not the kind you beg for, not the kind you rent, the kind you bleed for, the kind you own. So yeah, that's how I almost lost everything because of one power-hungry neighbor and a fake-ass HOA. But I stood my ground, and in the end I didn't just win, I exposed the whole damn scam. If you've got a Karen in your life, the clipboard, kind, the HOA kind, or just someone who can't mind their own damn business, you're not alone. This is HOA Karen Files, where fake rules meet real resistance. Got a story of your own? Drop it in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who's one HOA letter away from snapping. Because trust me, the next story might be yours.